Okay, guys, welcome to day two or session two of the infinite correction, not the infinite, the intuitive warrior. I call it the intuitive warrior because um, there's a you really need to find your inner warrior to be able to um, overcome those three hurdles that I covered in the last session. The three hurdles being the three reasons why you lack the capacity or the ability to follow your intuition, which are you know too much noise, not enough space, and not willing to back yourself. Okay, so just a reminder that I am going to cover those three things. Remember, just kind of reminding you in the last session, your ability to use your intuition is innate. Your ability to be creative is innate. It's something that was born. It's something that was born with. You were born with, I should say. So it's about undoing or removing the hurdles or the patterns that have formed that get in the way in you having the ability in using your intuition. That's all. So it's the work is quite simple, but to do what needs to be done sometimes is what let's call it challenging, because it creates a process. Like if you don't have enough space, for example, it means you've got too many things consuming space. What are the things that are consuming space? Your baggage. So for us to release or transcend that baggage, if you like, well, that may create a process. All right, and what's the process? There's a part of you wanting to hold on to that baggage, and now you think to yourself, why would I want to hold on to that baggage? Because it's comfortable. It's something you know. So to remove the baggage, it's being able to go into the unknown, and sometimes that's far more frightening for people than actually just than just sitting there and holding on to the known. And the known is their own issues, their own baggage. So but let's just start with you guys. I'd like to kind of kick off with you guys. I didn't give you guys much of a chance to speak yesterday. I know we had some great questions and contributions in the last 15 minutes, but I really, this program or challenge, is, the power of it is not just the content. The power of it is who's here, and who's listening to these recordings. That the power is in the people. I've always said that. People think the work I do is amazing, but really it's the people that do the work that make it amazing. Because my work could just be jibber jabber for some regular Joe Blow, but it's the individual that is yearning for this that makes the work amazing, makes it work amazing in their life too. So I left you guys with a little bit of a homework yesterday, and we talked about the content. The content that I delivered was the difference between your emotional reactions, your intuition, and the feeling, right? And I gave you that insight, if you like, and then I invited you to kind of walk away and kind of reflect back in your life and see where you can identify or have a reference point of where you had an emotional reaction. That's probably easy. It's probably, oh yeah, I had an emotional reaction here. That's definitely that's easy to find. So you can I'm sure anyone can identify that. But also be able to identify the moments where you had an intuitive feeling. Whether you followed it or not, it's not important. The result or outcome is not important. And the big one, can you identify moments where you had the feeling? Right? Some of you shared, but Barney shared yesterday about those 2 times in her life that she can remember the feeling. Now, can it's not an everyday thing that pops up, because every day you're busy. You're somewhat busy. You're deciding what to eat. You're deciding what you want to do today, what you want to wear. and sometimes you've got some of the baggage consuming space and noise as well, so there could be a busyness. Of course, as you become lighter and freer within yourself, that creates more space. So something, using the feeling where you're only used to having a reference point of one or two times in your life where you've kind of felt that, you start to become more aware of it more often. Okay. So yeah, I gave you that little bit of a content, if you like. What did you do with it? Did you kick it around? Did you reflect on it and go, well, yep, this is a moment where I definitely had an emotion? Can you tell me some reference points that you guys have come up with personally where you go, yep, this is where I had the intuition, this is where I had the feeling? Can you distinguish the difference? Are you able to articulate in your own mind, go, yep, I can see? Because I mean, it's probably the first time you've heard it articulated that way, because most people would just go, well, it's my intuition, or it's I'm angry, or I'm sad, my emotions. But it's important to be able to articulate it, to be able to define or point out the exact reference point. If you can see it, you can then use it. And seeing it is not necessarily seeing it with these eyes, it's seeing it with understanding and going, I see that's my intuition, right? I see that wasn't my intuition. We talked about the fabricated feeling as well, right? Does anyone remember what the fabricated feeling was? No one?
Isn't that when you have the feeling, but then you come up with a reason for why you're following it?
Very good. Very good, Zoe. You can see you've been doing this work for a little while, deep into OMG intensive. Yes, exactly right.
The wine in me, that's what helps.
No, it's the space, Zoe. You've been working with us for so long, right? Now you have the space. I mean, I shared that yesterday, but sometimes I remember him sharing it, but I don't remember what the answer was, because the space is limited. But you can say it's the wine. I know you're joking anyway. You got your glass of wine ready to go? Okay, so over to you guys. Please don't be shy. We are. Look, it's the familiar faces. It's everyone from yesterday, pretty much. Okay, we all know each other now, right? Yes, Dan. Oh, someone was already speaking. Who was that?
I was going to say something, but I'll go after Dan.
No, go, because you that's what happens. Leadership is always is taken, is not given. All right, go ahead, Catherine.
I didn't know that one. I like it. I reflected that there's been many times in my life when I've had intuitive guidance, and in different ways. I've had it by words or gut feeling. I've also had it in dreams, and I've also had it with communication with nature, just coming spontaneously, or with other beings and animals or whatever.
Yep.
I couldn't think of any time where I've had the feeling. Mm-hmm. So, and when you were sharing, what really stood out to me was the lack of space. And when I reflected on that, and I think it's come up before when I was looking at the WTF, I thought, gosh, I'm really still carrying a lot of old baggage. And what it came up to me was probably resentment and judgment. And it's not like I think about it all the time, I don't. But if I scratch the surface, it's there. Mm. And I was talking to a friend with a background in a certain process, and intuitively it suddenly got to me that I was going to write all these out in a certain way, just go and put them all on paper, and then share them as a really strong intent of letting them go, a bit like a 12-step process, step 4, yeah. And I asked my friend, and she said she'd be happy for me to do that. So I just thought, okay, it's really time to make a deep commitment to letting all this stuff go, because I really want to access that feeling for ways ahead.
Very
so it's
good.
really helpful. Yeah. And so it was an intuitive thing. I hadn't thought to do it, but just it came in a moment when I was speaking to a friend about something not related at all.
Yep.
To do that.
That's sometimes what happens. Like I said, sometimes you could be in the shower, you could be on the bath, you could be riding a bike. It's when you let go, it presents itself, right? And it's not that it presents itself, it is present and you became present with it. That's the truest statement. And it's like, well, why wasn't I present with it before? Because you're looking for it. They say love is not something you find, it's something that finds you. Intuition is the voice of love. The feeling is love.
That makes sense, because I've had for a while thinking I really want to do something about the process, but I hadn't come up with any ideas. Like, it was just sort of sitting there and I just was allowing it to be there. Yeah. So,
this is how I've come up with ideas in business, what I want to do. Like, it's the direction I'm going. It's sometimes it's a feeling, and I'm aware of the feeling, and I sit or move with the feeling, depending if it feels to sit or move. And as I move, the rest unfolds through me. Okay, so very good. Thank you, Catherine. Back to you, Dan, unless someone beats you to it again.
I'm too slow with the mute button, always.
Hey, Dan.
Hello. So I was reflecting on moments in my life when I followed the feeling, and the moments that came up were actually way before I knew any of this work, and the two that came up were quite monumental. One was when I first came to Australia way back in 2002, I really struggled to get work in my chosen field because I was young and I was a graduate. I had no experience, I didn't have a visa, and I ended up taking a job in selling insurance, which was okay. Did serve me well. I did well at it, but it wasn't what I loved. And as soon as I got my permanent residency, I just knew I had to follow something that was more in line with my studies and my ambitions. And it was just known. It was just, I was in a comfortable job. I could have carried on, but I had to follow that, and I did. And it's been a journey, and that really stood out to me.
Okay.
The other one was when I met my wife, which actually was around the same time. I was a bit of a young scallywag around that time, probably no use to anyone, but I met my wife. I knew her from England. We were traveling, and I just knew that we were going to be together, and that was that.
Yeah.
And we were, and we are.
Yeah.
And it's just about the thing that sort of ties those together is there are moments where I just knew.
Yep.
There was no decision. I just knew.
Yep.
Gotta go.
Gotta go.
Yeah.
Yep. Very good. So that's very good. I want to highlight what Dan says. It's just a knowing. When it becomes, an intuition is a knowing too, but the difference between the intuition and the feeling is a knowing, but there's absolutely no reason. It's just like, like Dan even said, I didn't even decide. That's what's happening. Do you know what I mean? Where the intuition requires you to decide, it requires you to participate, right? And the intuition comes from, again, the knowing, meaning your past experience, the way you've reflected the future, right? It's coming from if you like, in my work, I talk about coming from the present moment, but understand the present moment has also the past and future in reference, right? But then there is the moment now, as they sometimes call it. The moment now is where everything that was, everything that will be, everything that is in one moment, right? It's timeless, right? It comes from the unknown. There is no reason. You're just like, this is. If you look back in your life and even look at the people that you have so-called decided to love, whether it's your parents, whether it's a guardian, whether it's your pets, whether it's your children. If you actually go and reflect back, whether it's, maybe I won't add this yet because it's a little bit far-fetched, but I'll add it after, right? But anyone in your life that you love, right? If you reflect your process of deciding to love that person, you will realize you never decided to love that person. And only you can, I could say that and you'd be like, rubbish. Of course I decided. I mean, I'm in control of deciding who I love or who I don't love. Go and reflect on it. Tell me the moment you fell in love with your children. Oh, well, the moment they came out. Yeah. Oh, the moment they came out. Yeah, you know, sometimes people have this amazing experience when the child first comes and the first time you lay their eyes on your child and you'll be like, wow, I love them. But are you deciding to love them? Because to decide to love them is like, let me see. Am I going to love you or am I not? Or did you realize that you love them? Because that's not deciding to love them. It's realizing that there is a love for them. There is a love that is present in you for them. You may experience that with a pet. You may experience that with your soulmate or your partner, whatever you want to call it. Okay? You didn't decide to love your partner. If you did, that's not the real love. Because love doesn't have reasons. Making a decision to love something or not is looking for the reasons of why you should love them or why you shouldn't. So the feeling, like what Dan just shared, right? All that is present is a knowing, and your participation in that knowing is you realize I love them. If you want to stretch this out in your mind a bit more, I mean, I would encourage you to kind of digest what I just said by reflecting on it. I'm using the word reflection because we haven't talked about pondering. Today we're going to talk about pondering. When you go and ponder on this stuff that I share with you, I'm just dropping seeds in. All right, you want those seeds to blossom and become, you know, your infinite capacity, your infinite power. You need to do the pondering. It needs to be, wow, this is interesting. It feels familiar to me. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say it that way, but it feels familiar. Like there's a part of me that kind of resonates with it for some reason, like I've known it before. And then you need to then go ponder on that for that to become a realization of yourself. So you're not listening to what I'm saying. My work is not to be your guru or to be your teacher. My work is to get you to realize that you are the guru, that you are the teacher. Now, I won't lie, that's not going to take 5 days or even 12 months. You know, I work with people for long periods of time for them to come to that realization where they realize they are the one. But my guidance, my teachings is all about you realizing that you are the one. Right? All I do is I talk to people and drop the seeds. Drop the seeds. That's all we're doing. Okay? And one seed that I just dropped is like, well, did you go and decide who you love? Or did you realize? Now, some people don't like to hear that because they're like, well, hang on, I want to be in control of who I love or who I'm not in love with. But you are. But the problem is you think you being in control is who you are as the noise in your head. And like I said yesterday in the previous session, that's not who you are. That's just noise. Noise about who you think you are, who you think you need to be, who you think you should be in order to be accepted, to be approved, in order to be loved. That's not who you are. So, if you're a little bit more advanced and want to take this question and drop another seed in for you, and maybe we can discuss this at a later stage, but I'll just drop it in. Did you decide what it is that you love? Or did you realize that you love it? Did I decide that I wanted to be an aerobatic pilot? Or did I realize I loved it? Now, I could have a story about how the moment I found myself, with my father, he worked at Tehran in Iran in the airport, and he used to take me to the airport, and he would take me to the end of the runway, and the aircraft would take off, and we would notice, and he would show me the undercarriage going up as the wheels retracted, and then I would think to myself, that's when I realized or decided that I love to fly. But I went and reflected on that. That is not when I realized or decided that I love flying. Because after that, I had a fear of flying. It wasn't even something I was interested in. My mother she always loves to teach the children creativity. So one form of creativity for her was music. So she wanted us to learn to play the piano. My younger brother is the musician in our family, and he's a great musician. But none of the other kids, including myself, we don't have a musical bone in our body. Now we do, but we obviously tend not to use it, right? That's the truth. So I could, my mother tried to get us to learn to play the piano, but that's not something that happened for me because it wasn't present for me. It wasn't there for me. My brother could go, I love music because from the moment I was born, I was playing the piano because my mum got me to play the piano. But that's not why. You're just identifying with a story or looking for the reason of why you love music. Let me tell you why you love music, little brother. You love music because it was born with you. It's what you were born to do. That's your note. My mother taught me when I was young. She said everyone in the world is like a member of a grand orchestra, and everyone is playing their instrument. Someone's playing the piano, someone's playing the violin, someone's playing the trumpet, the saxophone, someone's playing the triangle. Every instrument makes a different sound, yet we are all playing one music. One music. All you got to do is play your music. And so many people have all these goals and ambitions that is not even related to their music. It's related to what other people's music is, and they seem to be enjoying it. They seem to be making good money for it. They seem to be happy. I mean, their Instagram said so they must be happy. So maybe that's what I need to do. No. You need to play your music. And your music, my friends, has to become louder than the noise that's going on in here. What I'm doing right now, this is my music. This is what I was born to do. This is what I do naturally. It becomes effortless. Flying a plane, I didn't do naturally. I had to work very hard. It's my passion, but this is who I am. I remember when I first got my commercial pilot license, and I was so proud of myself, and I went to my mother because I'm like, hey, finally I got a degree, because I never went to university, I never studied anything, I failed in high school. I completed it, but I failed. And I finally, many years later, went back to my mum, maybe, 10, 15 years later after graduating high school. How old was I? 15 years later, 20 years later, from graduating from high school, I went back to my mum and went, Mum, I got my commercial pilot license. And she kind of looked at me and went, that's nice. And I was just like, really? I thought you'd be proud of me. I got a degree. I got like a commercial pilot license. It's kind of like a degree, Mum. She goes, you can never stop being who you are. What you speak is who you are. And she was right. My flying is my passion. The speaking is who I am. I can never stop this. So what we want to talk about is how you can make that music inside of you louder. But first of all, you got to understand what your music is. and make sure it's not being influenced by other people's music. You're looking at the person next to you playing the saxophone, you got the violin, and you're like, how can I make my violin sound like the saxophone? Just play your music. But anyway, what took me on that tangent, which I didn't plan to go, you know, this is all stuff that's coming up in the moment. I don't plan to say that. That's what came through. What brought us to that conversation was, did you decide what your music is? Or did you realize it? Did you decide to love your children, your partner, your brother, your sister? Here's a big one for you. Do you decide to love yourself? Or do you realize the love that you have for yourself? That's a big one. Because most people think they need to love themselves. And I understand that. I understand. You may sit in front of the mirror and you look at yourself and you say, Catherine, I love myself. Yanni, I love myself. And you're telling yourself, Vicky, you are perfect just the way you are, and I love you just the way you are. I get it. But what you're doing is you're looking at the what I like to call the drop of the ocean rather than the ocean. You're looking at the body, the part that is not completely, it's a dust, one dust spectacle of who you truly are, and going, I love myself. But my friends, if you realize who you are, in this work is all about self-realization. If you realize who you are, you're not just this body. This is your costume that you decided to wear. You're not what you do. That's a role you decided to play, just like an actor plays a role on a stage. It's not who they are, it's the role they play. And their costume is their costume they're wearing. Why would love need to love itself? If you realize who you are, why would love need to love itself? You realize you love yourself. You realize you are love. That is the greatest lesson. I mean, we've taken a little side track here talking about love. But I'm just dropping that in for you to go to ponder on. What I'm here to talk about today is pondering. I realize right now I'm meant to get you guys to talk. See, Jamie, I'm not very good facilitator. You're a good facilitator. Here I am. I'm encouraging you guys to talk because there's a power in you guys talking, and I can't help myself. That's why I work with people like Jamie and other facilitators who have done this work, because they're the master of facilitating. I'm just the master of delivering the content. But I want you to ponder on that. Was it you that decided who you love? Or did you realize that you love them? Was it you that decided what you love to do? Or did you realize that you love that? And I just want you to go and ponder on that. You know, you can kind of get a gauge of what my realization of that is, but I just want you to ponder on that and see what your realization of that is. Yes, you decided to do what you love, but what was the process of realizing what you love? You didn't decide. Well, I talk for myself because I want you to ponder for yourself. I didn't decide to do this. I realized I have a love to do this. I then made a decision to continue to follow, or to commence following what I love. Yes, I made a decision to do it, but I didn't make a decision to love it. That was there already. That was present. And when I became aware of that, because I was present with it, my mind kicks in and goes, well, I decided to be an aerobatic pilot. Well, I decided to share this work. It's what I decided to do. I didn't decide to be a speaker, coach. I didn't decide any of that. I mean, I used to be a promoter, promoting international speakers, taking them on tour. It was never an interest of me to become a speaker. I can see now, reflecting back, following my feeling of becoming a promoter, of taking these speakers on. I can see how that led me into where I am right now. But I was just following the feeling. So, thanks for your shares. I would now like to kind of chat to you further about the art of pondering. Everything. Oh, yeah, Shani, go ahead. You just muted yourself.
Sorry, just before you move on. Hi, everybody. So just a quick one. Just following up on a couple of messages in our WhatsApp group as well that came through overnight as well. How do you, and it's about following the feeling, how do you stay in that feeling? So my direct reflection on that is about 4 or 5 months ago, this feeling came to me. It's a very powerful one to start this business, of which I've done.
Well, let's get clear. Are we talking about an intuition or a feeling?
Oh, it's just a feeling. It wasn't intuition at all. It just came from nowhere.
Okay.
And it was very clear on what I needed to do. And I spent sort of 3 months, 4 months working on this business, and it was easy, it was light, it was great. And then I feel now, I'm like, where'd that feeling go? Like,
where did you place your attention on the reasons?
My outcome and my motivation, where I was.
The moment you place your attention on the reason, you fabricate the feeling, and you think you're still following the feeling, but you're not.
No. But does that mean that feeling that I had initially wasn't a feeling? Or does it mean now that I just need to give it space?
Well, only you can answer that, but from what you just told me, and from what I sensed from what you just said, the feeling was real. You just placed your attention on the reason for you're following the feeling. Let me tell you something, and again, we're going to talk more about that probably on the last day. But the reason you follow the feeling, right, is because you're following the feeling, right? Love is, truth is. Have you heard that before? The truth is, love is, period, full stop, right? So the reason you follow your feeling is, right? Most people think to themselves, again, the thinking comes in, the noise picks up the feeling and goes, oh, we're following the feeling, and I feel to do this. Like for me, my perfect example is when I first started to speak, all right? And again, I did the same thing. My attention went on the outcome and results. It's like, well, you know, is there people wanting to hear what I've got to say? Am I making money out of this? My favorite question that I get asked when I'm on stage is, Amir, I know what I love to do, but how do I make money out of it? It's like, you don't. And hang on, people are like, what? You don't? Well, why would I do what I follow the feeling? Money or making money out of what you love is something that happens. Where I find myself right now is something that happens. It happens effortlessly. It happens like it's you're in a flow state. It's happening itself, right? My attention is not on the money. My attention is not on what needs to be done. My attention is on the feeling and staying with the feeling, not looking for the reasons of why I'm following the feeling. The moment you look for a reason and you find a reason of why you're following the feeling, make no mistake, you are no longer following the feeling. Right? People think I'm following the feeling because I'm going to improve my results. I'm going to improve my lifestyle. I'm going to improve who I am. I'm going to improve how I feel about myself. The reason you follow the feeling is because the more you follow the feeling, you start to become the feeling. You came here to be an infinite being. You came here to be love. Now, that might not make sense to you right now. Right? But you came here to be the one, to be an infinite being in a finite world, the world of duality. Again, that might not make sense for you. For those who have done my WTF experience, that you might relate to that. Okay? The reason you follow the feeling is because the more and more you follow the feeling, Shani, one day you're going to wake up and realize, I am the feeling. So here's a question for you. Drop the seed. One day when you realize you are that feeling that you've been following, who are you going to follow next?
No one.
Exactly. Do you reckon you'll trust yourself then?
Yeah.
That's the point. That's the point. Then you move energy. How am I going to make money out of it? Becomes irrelevant. You're an infinite being in a finite world. So when someone asks me, this is what I love to do, but how do I make money out of it? It's like, if you look at when someone really loves what they do, they always say, like you look at a child, a teenager, right? When they first love what they do, you know, they become an artist, they become a singer, they do whatever it is that they love. They're an entrepreneur, and they really love it. There's no reason. And you go, and you interview them, and you go, hey, you know, Shani, why is it that you love to play football? And they go, I don't know, I just love it. How many times do you hear that statement? I don't know, I just love it. I don't know any reason is what they're implying. I just love it because love just is. I just love it because it's my music, right? They don't care about the fame. They don't care about the money. But what happens is that the fame or the money naturally comes. And where people lose themselves is they start to notice the fame or start to notice the money and go, well, hang on, I'm worth more. Hang on. And they start to make their decisions based on what people think about them, the fame. They start to make decisions on, well, maybe I can make more money and therefore I can have more things in my life. They're no longer following the feeling. Finished. You're off that train. And it's very hard to get onto that train because it's not every day that feeling presents itself. So don't fuck with it. And I say that to make impact the way I said it. Okay? Don't fuck with it. When it comes, you better be following it and don't distract yourself with the outcome and result. When I first started to speak, it was so difficult because in my mind, I thought it was going to be easy because I used to be a promoter. Now I'm the speaker, and as a promoter, your biggest expense was the speaking fee. You know how much I used to pay speaking fee for some of these speakers? Massive dollars. Now I'm thinking, well, I'm becoming a speaker. I'm going to put my program together, and I used to be a promoter. I got this in the bag. Like, you know, the speaking fee is me, and I used to promote. Didn't work. And it was the most difficult journey of my life for the next 3 years. And I just remember my mum used to say to me, Amir, just get up and speak. But Mum, there was only 3 people that came to hear me speak. Just speak. Just play your music. Doesn't matter how many people in front of you. I never forget being in Orange County in Los Angeles, and there was this one event. This lady invited me to come to speak at this event. She was meant to have like 30 people. She had 2 or 3. One was herself. One was her friend she dragged along because she felt bad. There was no one else there. And I think one person bought a ticket. And I was just like, and I was sitting there going, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to go and speak for 3 people. And that's when my mum gave me that advice. I spoke to her over the phone. She goes, doesn't matter. You just speak. You just do what you love. You just play your music. You do not stop. Right? And, you know, I have a very, very enjoyable life. Like you might go, well, Amir, you're not a Tony Robbins now. How long have you been doing this? It's not about that. You know, when you follow the feeling, when you're not following the feeling, you're looking for the feeling in the outcome and result. That's what you're looking for. And you become attached, therefore, for the outcome and result. Because you're like, once I get that outcome and result, then I'll have this feeling of, I don't know, joy, love, security, feeling safe, being empowered. But when you're following the feeling without attaining the outcome and result, because it's not about the outcome and result, you feel joy, freedom, safe, empowered in the feeling. So why the fuck do I care about the outcome and result? I don't. Now, I'm not like in denial of the outcome and result. I know the direction I'm going. Like you can kind of gauge where you're going. Like when I was becoming a pilot, I went and started my flight training and they said, where do you want to go? What's your goals? And I said, I don't have any. because I was going to say I lack the ability to set goals, but that's not the truth. I don't feel the need to set a goal. Why? Because I'm not deciding any of this anyway. When I'm following the feeling, now don't get me wrong, Shani, the more you follow the feeling, you become the feeling, then you're deciding. But before then, all you're doing is realizing and making a decision whether you want to follow the feeling or not. I realize I love this. I realize I love Shani, for example. But what are you going to do about that? Well, I just love Shani, right? Or I love this food. I love this. You're just realizing I love my children. Well, what are you going to do about that? Nothing. I just love them. There's a part that kicks in and goes, yeah, but now that you love them, what are you going to do? Nothing. There's nothing to do but love them. Now that you know that you love to do this, what are you going to do about it? How much money are you going to make with it? Nothing. It's what I love. There's nothing to do. Now, don't get me wrong. That statement, when I say there's nothing to do, I'm saying there's nothing for Shani as the drop of the ocean to do. When you don't need to do anything, there is great things done with it. Because it's no longer Shani on her own. The feeling is moving. You know, when you're on your own, you're trying to catch a wave in the ocean, right? When you're not on your own and you connect with the ocean and you catch the wave, anyone surf here? Or body surf? Or watch someone surf? When they catch the wave, they become one with that wave and they ride the wave. Does it not become effortless? In my experience, every time I have not followed the feeling, I'm left with a shitty feeling. Always. And that could involve me attaining this outcome and result that was amazing, but I'm left with a shitty feeling still. Because then I feel like, when I say an outcome and result that was amazing, it's what I perceived to be amazing. But once I came that, let's say, made millions or billions of dollars, right? I'm still left with a shitty feeling because I don't get to experience the joy of that wealth because I only experience the need of it. What I mean by that is it's all about holding on to it and how much more money can I make so then I can make the money that I have feel safe. How big can my cushion be? It never stops. It never stops. And if you're old enough, you're mature enough here, you know that. If you're 18 years old, you might not know that. It's like, no, I know that outcome result, that gold medal is going to get me what I want. And the Oscar, that is going to make me feel like, no, go for it. Don't take my word for it. Get the gold medal, see how you feel. Without yourself, the self-realization of who you are, the gold medal, you can't enjoy it. Now, if you realize who you are, the gold medal becomes a huge amount of appreciation because you never needed it. But anyway, Shani, we will talk more about that.
Right, thank you. Excellent.
Yeah,
Thank you.
But if in my reference point, it's been this work. It's just like I just keep speaking. When COVID hit and we went into lockdown, like almost globally at that point, I was like, well, what do I feel to do? Just speak. I just got on social media and spoke almost every day. Because I knew people were going in fear. And I was like, nothing to be afraid of. So I'd go on social media and tell people how there's actually nothing to be afraid of. Like, not to be in denial of what's happening, but how is fear going to support you in this process of what's happening globally, the pandemic? If you're responding with fear, all that does is opens you up to get the COVID virus thing. Don't be in fear. Fear is not going to help you. Be in love. Anyway, wow. My management of I need to talk to you guys about pondering. So I've already. It's important that I share this because pondering is a flow state, okay? But it's your rather than the noise being noise, you find unity, if you like, within the noise. And rather than the thoughts consuming you and taking space, the thoughts get used by you and create space. That's what it feels like. If you're just thinking and having the internal dialogue, just noise, which means you're not present, the thoughts, I always like to say, the thoughts are having you rather than you having the thoughts. All right? It's like being in the ocean with big waves and you're trying to swim against the current. When you are in pondering state, it's like you catching a wave and riding that wave wherever it needs to go. All right? All my content, my business ideas, what I want to do in my life has come from pondering. And it's a fine line at first when you hear this, because you're like, what, pondering? Like thinking? It's different. You're not sitting there, noticing your internal dialogues. Okay? It's a sensation of creativity. That's what it is. It's your and again, as I mentioned to you guys in our first session, every single one of you are intuitive. Every single one of you are creative. Now, if there's lots of noise and you're not using that, that's a different thing, and that's what we're gonna cover from tomorrow. We're going to talk about how to remove the noise, how to make more space. But please understand, pondering is the most powerful thing. I mean, most people ask me, do you meditate? I meditate if I feel that I'm not connected, so I can get into a state of pondering. But if I'm already feeling connected, then I don't meditate, I get straight into my pondering. Okay? Now, I said also in the last session, this is one of the most powerful things that I could teach you, yet it's the most difficult thing that you can learn. This is by far the most powerful thing I could shit. This is the most powerful thing I can teach you, yet it's the most difficult thing you could learn. Because it's not a step-by-step thinking process, right? But I'm going to give you a template, which is kind of like a step-by-step how you ponder, right? You're pondering because the thinking or the visualizations, because the pondering is not, sometimes it's visions that comes to you, right? It feels light and you feel inspired. If it's thinking, it's almost like it's forceful, it's effortful, it feels somewhat heavy. Just the same as intuition and emotion. And emotion is the reaction to your perception of what is happening, and it feels heavy, where your intuition feels light. That's a little gauge for yourself to go, what's going on here? Okay, am I thinking or am I pondering? Pondering, are you inspired? Can you feel like the moment you go, am I pondering? You've disconnected from the pondering, unfortunately. But you might do that from time to time. So, the first thing that I want to share with you about the art of pondering is that it happens in the present moment. So, it happens in the now. If the truest statement. Okay? So if you're not in the present moment or in the now, because the now is one step further than the present moment, as I explained to you before, chances are you're not pondering. You're daydreaming. Different. Okay? So that's why I said to you before, people ask me, do you meditate? I do if I'm not present. If I'm not being present, I take some breaths, I do more breath work. You can call that meditation if you like. Okay? To get to a point of being in the now so I can commence my pondering. So, yesterday I gave you one key of it. And I said to you, to commence pondering, you ask a question. But you don't look for the answer from the place you asked the question from. To better address that, you pose a question Just don't look for the answer. Right? You're being open for the answer, but don't look. You're just posing a question. Right? What is it that I really want? Right? This work that we're doing, self-realization, it's all posing questions. You know, who am I really? How do I really feel? Why did I really do that? But don't look for the answer from the place you asked the question from. Guys, you might want to write this down if you've got a pen and paper, but otherwise Jamie will, or the facilitator will post it in the WhatsApp, so don't worry about it. Right? Actually, don't worry about writing it down. Just be present with it. This is what I call my emptiness mantra. Right? Because what you're doing to commence pondering or to drop into infinity. Remember, last session I talked about infinity is the emptiness. You must empty yourself. So to empty yourself, this is the mantra I tell myself. Don't make it into an affirmation. Make it into an acknowledgement or a realization. Don't make it into an affirmation, make it into a realization. And this is what I say to myself before I start pondering. All right? So I might have my eyes closed and I'll say, did you see how I just took a breath there? Why did I take a breath? Because I'm not even going to say what I'm about to say unless I'm present. That's how important that mantra is for me. There's nowhere to be. There's no one to be. There's nothing to do, nothing to figure out, and there's nothing to accomplish. Until I acknowledge that, I won't start pondering. There's nowhere to be. There's no one to be. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to figure out. There's nothing to accomplish. That's how I empty myself. Then pose the question. Or, if there's no question, just be. Now, if there is a question, you pose the question. The next step, if you like, is you let go of the answer and just be. Just be back into that place, back into that space. There's nowhere to be. There's no one to be. Nothing to figure out. Nothing to do. There's nothing to accomplish. Slow that down and acknowledge every one of those statements. Okay? Rehearse that in your mind before you start your pondering so you know that word for word. Okay? If you want the shortened version, there's nowhere to be, there's nothing to do, there's nothing to accomplish. I just added in there, there's nothing to figure out because some of you are more heady, more intellectual, and you're trying to figure out how to do this. Nothing to figure out. Some of you are more concerned about, who you need to be. So I put in there, there's no one to be. There's nowhere to be. There's no one to be. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to figure out. There's nothing to accomplish. And just sit. Okay? Suddenly you notice, there's a wave building behind you. And all you got to do is start paddling. Right, Jamie? Jamie surfs. You still got to paddle. You still got to participate. And you start paddling. And you pick this wave up. And you just, it just takes you and you have these realizations. It's like visions. This is what's going to happen next. This is what I'm doing. Like it's all the feeling. Okay? This is where more and more you ignite the feeling. Remember I said to you guys yesterday, the feeling is only sometimes you might only remember 1 or 2 times in your life that you've had the feeling. Where it was like Dan said, it was just a knowing. I didn't even have to decide. He didn't even have to decide. He just knew that he was going to marry his wife. I gave you examples of this from my own life and wife. Right? But I said, can we use the feeling at will? So, tomorrow, when we meet, same time, same place, right? Our next session, when we meet, okay, I'm going to talk to you why your pondering won't work. What's limiting your pondering? Because the more you ponder, the more it becomes a muscle, and the more your ability to do the pondering. The first thing I could tell you about pondering is if you don't make space and time to do it, it won't happen. Right? There's times in my life where I became really, really busy, like when we first had kids, and I had to have a very, very big fight with my wife one day because in the morning she needed my help with the kids, especially when we had the second kid. And there was a point where I just went, you know what? Every morning I need to start my day this way, and I need to start it with pondering. And that's just what's got to happen because I was starting to lose myself because I didn't have any time to ponder. And I said, after I come back home, I'm here to help. Right? And you probably think I have a great wife because she did understand that. Some other women might have left me by now. Right? But for me, what's the use of being in that relationship, right, if I haven't done my pondering? What's the use of being in that relationship, right, if I can't find myself, if I can't be myself? The pondering came first. So I noticed that there was a point in my life where I didn't ponder and I lacked pondering, and that's when I lacked connection. And that's when I had lacked the ability to follow the feeling again. And then I realized, well, I'm not making any space or time for it. So when you make space and time for it, really just make a decent chunk of time. So you're not thinking, oh, I've got to go now. Especially when you're like, there's nowhere to be, your mind kicks in and goes, well, I've only got 5 minutes because I've got to be somewhere. Don't do that. Give yourself a decent chunk of time, half an hour, an hour. Don't even think about the time. Just allocate a time and a space. Now, I say a space, I've found that doing this in nature has been super powerful. I could be sitting in my car overlooking in nature, that's as good, but sitting in nature has been very powerful. Sitting in my office here and doing pondering, I don't think I can even remember doing pondering in here. Although you could say that this is live pondering, some of the things that we're doing right here, speaking in the flow is live pondering, right? But sitting down and actually reflecting and pondering on my own, I don't think I can remember once doing it in my office. It's always been in nature. So up to you, it might be different. It could be in your backyard, it doesn't matter. Just sit with a tree, sit with a plant. Okay? I've just found that super powerful. So make time, make space. So space meaning the right environment that's going to support you to do that. Tomorrow when we get together, I'm going to be sharing a process called reclaiming your power. So what's reclaiming power about? It's removing the power that your baggage is holding over you. What's your baggage doing? Besides being your conditional thinking and you're repeating the same things in your life over and over again, it's actually consuming space. What does that do? It creates a lack and ability to be able to follow the feeling and to be able to hear your intuition. Because what does your baggage do? It makes a lot of noise. It makes a lot of noise because it's a pattern. Right? And then you're like, why do I keep doing this? Why am I self-sabotaging all the time? Why do I keep getting the same guy? Why do I keep getting the same girl? Why does my kids always do this? Well, I know it's my stuff. They're always doing this. Okay? It's a very important day tomorrow. It's a big one. Okay? So we'll be talking about, when I spoke about in the first session, the top 2 reasons of why you can't follow the feeling or use your intuition was too much noise, not enough space. So we'll be talking about how to make more space and reduce the noise. That's what we're going to be doing tomorrow. I'll be giving you something practical to actually do. But for today, please start with your pondering. Can you make some space over the next 24 hours, some space and time for you to sit and ponder? Okay. If you got nothing to ponder about, you can go back to what we spoke about. Ask the question, when in my life have I had the feeling? Suddenly an image might pop up. Ask the question. Don't look for the answer. Key point, don't look for the answer. Realize the answer. It's different. Guys,
Richard,
sorry? Yep.
Can I ask a question? How different is pondering to journaling? Like sometimes I ponder well when I can like write out my thoughts, like write out what's coming.
Not much different. But usually sometimes people are journaling their emotions. That's just what I've noticed. No, if it's supportive, try journaling. Yep. I don't have anything to oppose against that. Okay. I'll talk more about that tomorrow. I've actually got to be on another coaching session which started 1 minute ago. So I won't have any more time for questions and answers today. But tomorrow, I'll be in the same boat tomorrow. But Thursday, I'm going to have more time. So guys, prepare Thursday. I may go for 90 minutes if you're up for it. Okay? So Thursday I've got more time. But that's all for today. And tomorrow morning we'll start with how did your pondering go? And then we'll kick into reclaiming power. Thanks for being with me today, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place. See you. Bye-bye.